Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, welcome to the committee. I have 4 questions that really require yes or no answer before I get to my other questions. Will you, as Secretary of State, do what so many other secretaries have not and recognize the genocide perpetrated by the Ottoman Empire against its Armenian citizens during World War I? Yes or no?
I can't answer that. I don't know the answer. I'll review the issue.
Okay. You strongly criticized the Obama administration for not including issues like human rights in the nuclear deal with Iran. Do you have a commitment from the Kim regime in North Korea, the most brutal dictatorship in the world, to take steps to alleviate the human suffering of their own people, including opening civil and political rights as part of any negotiated deal?
The issue was raised directly between me and Chairman Kim, and it will be part of the discussions as we move forward.
Will it be part of the deal? Do you have a commitment from the Kim regime?
We have broad outlines of what it is that each nation is prepared to do.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. You said in response to written questions for the record during your Senate confirmation hearing that you would appoint a new special envoy for the human rights of LGBTI persons at the State Department. That special envoy position has been vacant for some time. Will you expeditiously appoint someone to fill that post?
Yes.
And can you give us a timeline?
No.
Okay.
But just know, it is, I have a couple dozen posts that are of similar importance, each of which we're working through developing lists.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You've talked a lot about supporting freedoms in the Middle East region. Have you raised your concerns with the government of Saudi Arabia about their recent arrest of activists, particularly women activists?
I've spoken with the leadership of Saudi Arabia, although I haven't had a chance to speak to them lately on that.
I hope you will. Next, Mr. Secretary, I want to build on Mr. Keating's question about the TZE. Do you believe it's appropriate for the President's business organizations to benefit from Chinese government loans and financial incentives while the administration considers official matters related to the Chinese government?
I'll leave that to others to comment on.
No, do you think it's appropriate?
Yeah, I'm going to leave that to others.
Do you have an opinion as to whether that is appropriate?
Yeah, that's like, I think 6 levels of hypothetical that I don't know the fact.
Well, no, Mr. Secretary, with due respect, it's not hypothetical. The President reversed his decision and received a financial benefit for it. If, in fact, the President doesn't divest himself of his business interests, how will you ensure that this body, that the Congress of the United States, that you are not engaging on matters of foreign policy and national security where the President's interest is really the bottom line in your mind rather than the interest of the American people?
Well, first of all, I can assure you that that's not true. Second, I can prove now that it was a hypothetical. You said that the President had changed his position. It's still under review. We're still working our way through it.
Mr. Secretary, how will you assure, if the President's business interests remain in place, how will you assure the American people and this Congress that the decisions that you make on matters of foreign policy will be dictated by the best interests of the American people and not the financial benefits to the Trump organization or President Trump? When you don't even have an opinion as to whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing. You wouldn't even render an opinion as to whether or not you think it's appropriate for the President's business organization to benefit from financial loans and incentives from a government that you're negotiating with.
I'm confident that the President will comply with the ethics rules that are in place. Mr.
Secretary, that's a very disappointing answer. With all due respect, I'll go to my next question. In your speech on Iran this week, you outlined 12 demands for the Iranian government now that President Trump has abandoned the JCPOA. And while I agree with all of the goals that you laid out in your list, I have to say it was more like a letter to Santa Claus than a policy document. It's nice that you have 12 things that you want the Iranians to do, but that is far different from having the negotiating ability, the skill, and the coalition to support those efforts. And for what I've seen so far, this administration has none of these things. In fact, this administration has been in power for a year and a half, and nothing in the JCPOA prevented the administration from cracking down on Iran's malign activities in the region, and they've done very little. So why will it be different now? How will you translate this very lovely wish list into actual policy?
May I actually answer this question?
Yes, please.
Thank you. In the almost 3 years of the JCPOA, the Iranians marched across the Middle East. They conducted heinous activities. I don't know which of the 12 asks you would like me to get rid of. Do you have a...
No, Mr. Secretary, I'm asking, how do you take this list? Your administration has been in office for 15 months. Yes. They have done nothing to hold Iran accountable in any of this malign activity. What I'm asking you is how you convert this wish list, which, is a terrific list, I agree with its contents, into actual policy. How will you make those things happen? What's the strategy?
So I laid that as well. It took me about 13 minutes at the Heritage Foundation to lay it out. I'm happy to deliver that to you in the 5 seconds I have remaining. You should know we're committed to developing a diplomatic solution that gets there.
I think the chairman will allow you to answer the question if you'd like to share the way that you expect to make that actual policy. I think it's...
Okay, let's go.
Mr. Tom Marino of Pennsylvania.
Thank you.